This is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast coming to you from Richmond Park, where the pitch is being cleared. The last night of the season at Richmond Park, is in the last home game for St. Pat's, has been a successful evening for the Saints. They beat Derry City by 1-0. It means they're guaranteed a top 4 spot, and if they win next week, they're guaranteed a European spot. For Derry City, it means they cannot now win the league title, but Shelbourne still can, and Shamrock Rovers still can. Shelbourne beating Drogheda by 2-1. Shamrock Rovers taking on Dundalk on Sunday, and I'm doing this from memory, so I'm not entirely sure, but I think if Shamrock Rovers win that game, they're still in the title race. I'm not sure about a draw. Keith Treacy, formerly of St. Pat's and the Republic of Ireland. It's hard to know where to start, but look, we'll start with the title race. We are going to hear more from Talca Park in a wee while, by the way, but Shelbourne looking good for the league title now. They play Derry City, funnily enough, next week, and if they win, they're the champions, regardless of what Rovers do, I think, against Dundalk this Sunday and in the last night of the season.
Yeah, look, when I went to last week, when everybody had 3 games left, a lot of people were saying you'd rather be in the Shamrock Rovers dressing room. I never really bought into that. I was of the same thinking of Damien Duff, that it's in their hands, and if Shelbourne can go and win the next 3 games, they win the league. So they had the most straightforward run of it. They've won 2 out of their 3 games, and they're right on the cusp. But if you're Ruadhri Higgins and you're Derry, you'll be as low as a snake's belly tonight, but you'll have that fire in your belly next Friday, knowing that we can't win the league, but we can go and be spoilers for
really?
Shelbourne. Yeah.
Will they be bothered about that game? Because I have to say, and I've never been a professional footballer, I just wouldn't care. Like, what's the point?
You have to motivate yourself, and I'm sure Ruadhri Higgins will be saying, you want to play in the FAI Cup final, you go and show me how good you are today, go and give Shelbourne nothing, but Shelbourne will be licking their lips knowing that if we can pick up 3 points, we've won the league. So it's going to be a very, very tough game. Shelbourne have been up and down all season, largely at the top of the league, and I wouldn't go as far to say they've deserved it, but you know, they've been absolutely excellent. And as I say, I like the hybrid approach of how they go about it. So excellent stuff from Shelbourne this season.
What about St. Pat's tonight? Kavanagh with the only goal of the game. It came in the first half. He pounced on a Shane McElhenney mistake.
Yeah, it was a poor mistake from Shane McElhenney. Largely, Derry defended really well. 2 centre-halves were excellent. They obviously did miss Mark Conley. I think he's a big player for this Derry team. But Brandon Kavanagh had a chance. It was a good save. And you're thinking, are you going to go and rue that miss? And literally 5 seconds later, Shane McElhenney, a ball comes into the box and he just hits it straight to Brandon Kavanagh, 12 yards out. It's a good force touch, and he fires it home past Brian Marr. Really good finish from Brandon Kavanagh. Somebody who played really well all night. His deliveries are a constant threat, and the way he can, his vision, the way he can wiggle away from passes. Somebody who's gone from strength to strength this season.
St. Pat's did look like they were absolutely gassed out towards the end. We'll say the last 10-15 minutes, but somehow hung on.
Yeah, Derry were the ones asking all the questions. Largely the whole second half was in Derry's favour. They were the one knocking on the door, but Pats by hook or by crook, a little bit of luck. Derry hit the crossbar, and Nang made a brilliant save. They put bodies on the line. If you're a Pats manager, a Pats player, we know how good they can be on the ball, but do they have that backbone? Do they have that resilience? Do they put bodies on the line to keep clean sheet? Have a look at Michael Duffy's chance on Joey Anang save. He throws his body in front of that ball. He knows he's going to get hurt, but he does it anyway. And that for me is just as pleasing as, you know, night pretty football in between the lines. People who are willing to put their bodies in the way of shots when they're going to get hurt. So just as important, but a brilliant and big moment in the game from Joey Anang.
8 wins in a row for St. Pat's. A 9th will guarantee them a European spot, and they might get that regardless of result next week.
Yeah, it's crazy. The run they've been on has been absolutely astounding. Of course, they've rode their luck from time to time, but largely on the wings, so dangerous. And when you look at the league from top to bottom, I think St. Pat's are probably the only team in the league who don't want the season to finish. Everybody else is crawling towards the line, but St. Pat's are the ones who are picking it up and running by the scruff of their neck. And you do think if there was 2 or 3 games left to go, Pats would probably end up winning the league, but as it is, you cannot say Shelbourne don't deserve it. If they do go on to win it at this stage, they've been outstanding, but Pats are the most informed team at this minute.
Shamrock Rovers will look to keep it alive now on Sunday when they take on Dundalk. The pressure is very much on them, but as we saw on Thursday night, a game I think you were at in Windsor Park, they don't mind pressure. They can perform under pressure.
Yeah, they were outstanding up in Windsor Park. Got the opening goal in the first couple of minutes, put everything at ease, and I think there was a golfing class, to be honest with you. Larne really weren't at the races, so it'll be all about how the bodies feel, how the Shamrock Rovers body feel. But if any squad in the league can can cope with playing Thursday and then Sunday with 2 away games. It would be that Shamrock Rovers squad. So much talent within it. So you would imagine they will go there and be able to get the 3 points with a Dundalk team already relegated. But when you're relegated at your last home game, go and throw a couple of punches. It will either click for Dundalk and they will throw a couple of punches, or everything will become too tough and they will go under.
Potentially our last chat of the season. What have you made of it generally as a season, even though there is maybe a couple of twists and turns to come, including a relegation promotion final, the cup final, and the last night of the season?
I've loved it from start to finish. I think it's been absolutely outstanding. It's been really entertaining. We can talk about the points totals maybe not being as high as you would like, but I do think Waterford coming up and Galway coming up, going into the middle to top tier, they've obviously, you would expect the new teams coming up to be down the bottom. They were down in the middle, so that made the league an awful lot stronger. But look, Shelbourne being top of the tree has been really good. It's been entertaining stuff, some brilliant moments, some ups and downs. Yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. I loved the rush. I woke up this morning and it was like Christmas morning. I was looking forward to the league.
It was buzz, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it was unbelievable. Absolutely buzzing for it. Generally, I have my eye across the water with the English Premier League, but I haven't been able to take my eye off the Irish League.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it.
English Premier League, what's that? Is that football, is it?
No, League of Ireland has took precedence this week. It's been unbelievable stuff.
Okay, Keith Treacy, thank you very much for joining us here at Richmond Park. The Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast coming to you from the commentary position of Richmond Park at the moment. St. Pat's have beaten Derry City by 1-0. I'll say it again, and I don't think St. Pat's fans will mind hearing this again. St. Pat's destiny in their own hands. If they win next week, they're into Europe, and even if they don't, they might still get there. For Derry City, they now cannot win the league, but they do have a cup final to look forward to. They will play Drogheda United. Drogheda United will be busy, won't they? Because they also have the relegation playoff to come here. They don't know their opponents for that yet. Still to come, Stephen Finn gives us his thoughts on the season. It's not the last night, but we're getting close to it. Stephen Finn, well-known coach, well-known writer. He'll join us to give us his thoughts. We'll also hear from Donal, who was watching Sligo Rovers against Galway United. We'll get some reaction from Talca Park as well. Andrew Dempsey of Extratime.com was there. But right now, it's time to hear from, hopefully, and I say hopefully because I haven't done these interviews as I'm talking to you. I'm about to go over and record them. Hopefully both camps, but I would imagine at the very least St. Pat's. So here is some reaction from here in Richmond Park, where St. Pat's have beaten Derry City by 1-0. Ruadhri Higgins, a 1-0 defeat here at Richmond Park. Is it particularly frustrating because you played quite well and deserve something out of the game, maybe at the very least?
Aye, of course it's frustrating. I thought in the first half there wasn't much in the game at all. Limited chances both ends. We give up a terrible goal from our point of view. Shouldn't have happened really. It's naivety from our part. 2 minutes out from half time, we should see it through. And then second half, I thought we were very, very good in the game. Created plenty of opportunities and just very, very disappointed that we didn't take at least one or two of the chances that we had.
Given what's still at stake this season and the cup final to come, can you take some solace from the fact that you didn't give up, you played hard, created chances, worked incredibly hard?
Aye, listen, that's our jobs. You have to work hard regardless of the situation. When you're representing a football club like Derry, the minimum requirement is work ethic, and we kept going and we created opportunities, and we had the lion's share of the play in the second half, and we were very much in the ascendancy, but we just weren't clinical enough, and we got punished for a bit of naivety at the end of the first half.
Colin Whelan came on in the second half and looked really good. Is there frustration there because obviously he's had his injury issues, where you kind of think to yourself, or are you thinking if we had him more, Lord knows what we could have done?
Hi, listen, if we had had a lot of them more, listen, you can only deal with what you've got. Our players give absolutely everything tonight, and we deserve something from the game, there's no doubt about that, but we leave empty-handed, and it's a sucker punch. It's a tough pill to swallow, but we have to keep going.
In the dressing room there was the talk about, look, heads up because we've got a cup final to fight for, or do you just kind of let them wallow for a couple of days? What do you do? How do you approach the next stage?
Well, obviously you have to discuss the game that's just been and gone and whatever. But we have an obligation to keep going, try and win the game next week, and then we'll worry about the cup final after next week.
Is that a particularly hard one to take, because given how close you've come, if Shells win next week, they win the league, and that's just, it's a hard place to be from your point of view?
Of course, and it's our jobs to make sure that doesn't happen. It's our last home game of the season, and we need to try and pick up 3 points, and we'll do everything we can to do that.
Thanks for talking to us, Rory.
Thank you.
Stephen Kenny, a 1-0 victory against Derry City, an 8th win in a row, and a victory that puts your European destiny in your own hands. You're definitely in the top 4 now, but you can seal the place in Europe next week with a win against Sligo Rovers.
Yeah, it seemed quite inconceivable when we were sort of in the bottom 3 and we were looking up, and Waterford were 12 points ahead of us, and Galway and Sligo and all these teams were just so far ahead of us. And then, you know, of course, the top 3 were miles ahead of us. We couldn't even think of that. So for us to get in the position that we're in is a testament to the hard work of the players.
Let's talk through the goal first. It fell to Cavanagh fortunately, but there was nothing fortunate or lucky about his finish.
No, he got in a good position in first place for the first effort. The goalkeeper made a good save, and but he stayed in the key area, and he had a few shots and they were over the bar earlier on the match, so he just struck that hard and low and went right in the corner. And thankfully, because I thought overall Derry were excellent in the match. They've had a lot of players missing tonight, and they, you know, I think they're rather unfortunate tonight. That wasn't our best performance, but in the second half we got bodies on the line, we defended well. Joseph Anang had to make an incredible save, and we defended better, and we didn't capitalise on the chances to counter-attack in the way that we could have. I thought we controlled the second half of the first half. That 20 minutes before half time, we were well on top and dominated possession, and created a few chances. Create that many clear-cut chances, but got that goal at a crucial time. Second half, Derry were very good, and they were unfortunately hitting the bar at that time. And you know, I think they're a brilliant team. Derry have got a brilliant manager in Ruadhri Higgins, really top-class manager, and Paul Hegarty, assistant manager, and got some great players. And I think they're unlucky tonight to walk away with nothing. And we our players have the habit of winning, and now we are winning 3 and 4-0. But in the last couple of weeks, we've won tight games, and so that's a good sign.
Is that the most pleasing thing, that tonight you relied on blocks, guys getting their body in the way, and Nang making good saves, that even though it wasn't what you'd call free-flowing, you just got it done somehow? Is that a great sign of your team and players?
Yeah, I think obviously Zach Elvis said he played, but he hadn't trained, or he wasn't fully fit, and Jake Mulroney and Mason Amelia are missing. You know, big. You know, they formed our front 3 for a good while, and obviously the other players that come in have all done brilliant. But it's and that's the essence of the squad. But you're playing a top class team in there. You are going for the league, and they're hugely motivated, and you know, they've got, even though they're missing players, they're all good players that they have, and so we're delighted to win, and you know, you create an aura about yourself and you keep winning, and that rhythm and momentum can be good, can be significant, and we have to take that into Sligo, because we've achieved nothing yet, and we have to take that into Sligo next week.
I know it's a bit of a cliched question, but will you treat the build-up to that like it's a cup final, given what's at stake?
No, we'll treat it like we've treated the other 8 games, and obviously Sligo have some very good home form. I think they won 7 on a bounce at home at one stage, didn't they? So we'll have to. It'll be a tough game, and we'll have to get ourselves ready and try and finish the season strong.
Injury-wise, look, Jake was on the bench tonight, so I presume he could play if needed, but will he be back fully fit? Zach went off again, that might have been just a precautionary thing. Mason, will they be available? What's their situation for next week?
We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on all of that, but we'll digest that. But important clean sheet. I think Derry were unfortunate overall. They've had a great season. They should be proud of themselves. Very, very difficult for them. haven't been in it for so long, and then to lose it in a tight game like that, difficult for them. And they've got the cup final, and if they win the cup, that's 2 cups in the last 3 years, which would be, an amazing achievement by Derry City. So they still have that to look forward to. From our point of view, we've got to try and dust ourselves down and get ready for Sligo, and try and secure European football, because that matters. Like, European football matters, and momentum, and it's certainly, clubs need it financially and all that kind of stuff. So it's these things are important.
Final question from me, because this could be our last chat of the season, actually. The scenes out there tonight at the full-time whistle, the pitch invaded in a very nice and friendly way, the biggest crowd in this place for a decade, the support you've got all the way along, but especially tonight. What does that mean to you as the manager and the players?
Yeah, I think, and not only that, how many couldn't go tonight? So many, all the players were inundated with tickets, and people trying to go, and then they know it's sold out, so they don't come. So you can imagine Garrett has a vision of building this new stadium, but obviously it's going to take a few years. But it's needed. It's needed. We need a new stadium to fill it, because it's you can't get a ticket. It should never be the way. I think, and so, but it's brilliant, and I think that the team are connecting with the support. Connecting with the players. Players are giving everything of themselves, and they relate to them. The players are very relatable. They give everything every week. High degree of skill and technical talent and speed in the team now. So it's good to see, good to watch.
Stephen, best of luck at Sligo next week.
Thank you.
So that's all the reaction from here in Richmond Park, where St. Pat's have beaten Derry City by 1-0. For Derry City, they now cannot win the league title. Shelbourne still can, but it's not over yet. Some idiot commentator on LOI TV at Richmond Park said that it was all over. Although handsome, that guy might have forgotten that Shamrock Rovers have a game in hand on Sunday against Dundalk, and if they win that, then we are going to the last day. Right, let's get some reaction from Tolka Park. Now, as I record this link, I'm out on the pitch in Richmond Park. Extratime.com's Andrew Dempsey was in Tolka Park, so I've actually no idea what I'm about to throw to you here, so it's a bit of a guesswork. Just jumping in here with a very bad and obvious edit. Andrew Dempsey of Extratime.com has been speaking to Shelbourne keeper Conor Kearns.
Yeah, as good as performances you're going to see in that first half from us. I really thought we moved the ball really well, looked really composed, looked really in control. But like Joey said at the half time to us, Drogheda are in this division because they're so comfortable in games and positions when they're not quite in it, and that they can turn it around in a moment. And credit to them, they did that. They really turned the game on its head with an excellent goal. And look, they huffed and puffed right to the very end. But we showed a bit of composure and a bit of hard work to get it over the line.
Yeah, I suppose that first half as well, you probably didn't have an awful lot to do, but that goal for Drogheda, I don't think you could really do much with that, could you?
Well, look, we'll look back on it. We're not the type of team that has ever conceded a goal, I think, and any defender or myself has ever said, there's nothing I could do. There's always a way to look at it to maybe improve, little steps, little movements to try and stop it. But look, credit to them, you have to say it's a bit of quality for them. But the most important thing for us then was their reaction afterwards, and I don't think we gave them much of a chance afterwards.
Yeah, because it felt quite, I know I don't want to tempt fate here, but it did feel quite significant tonight, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I suppose we had to win the game. Ultimately we knew that ourselves, because we'd Rovers and Derry breathing down our necks before the game, and 3 points was all that was ever going to work for us. So yeah, it was always going to be tense, it was always going to be nervy, but won the game, positive result, but we have a massive task next week.
Yeah, and just was the mentality of being in a title race. I know it is probably easy to say, just focus on ourselves, but how difficult is that, just to focus on yourselves at the moment? Because you look at results flying in everywhere. I know probably tonight you don't know what's happening too much, but when you see results.
Yeah, well, you have Drogheda fans behind the goal telling me Derry were winning 2-1, so that's set the nerves off a little bit. But yeah, of course, it's natural. The mind might drift now and again, but the manager came at us half time and said, do not let the mind wander. Focus on the moment, focus on being in the here and the now. And I think as a group we've benefited massively from Colin Hawkins spoke to us yesterday, told us a bit of his story, a bit about his journey and his mentality. And if ever there was an inspiration and a lesson to learn, it was focusing on the moment, the here and the now, and what you can control. And that's what really, really resonated with us. And I think today you could see that kind of belief and that just how inspired we were to focus on our own task at hand.
Yeah, because I suppose that gap you had before the Waterford game, it probably feels like it's probably came at the right time for you guys.
Yeah, a little bit, but I suppose we were itching to get on the pitch. Performances had been really good. We knew a win was coming. If we maybe just got a slice of luck, or just were able to, I don't know, just hold on in the nervy moments for a little bit longer. That Waterford win was obviously massive. But yeah, look, we fully expected that it was going to come, and we were able to capitalise on it again tonight with another 3 points.
Yeah. Did it feel like maybe a weight off the shoulders, that win, or after maybe waiting so long to get one? Like, I know you're still top of the table the whole time, but did it feel like a bit of a weight off the shoulders to get a win?
Yeah, of course, a little bit. Like, look, I wouldn't say that we were overthinking things or feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders, because performances were good and we were confident. But yeah, of course, ultimately 3 points is what's going to give you that final bit of confidence that you need. But like I said it after the Rovers game, speaking to the Shells media team, every team in the country had shoulda, coulda, woulda moments this season. So every team, every dressing room has a choice to dwell on that or just go and get the job done the next week. And I think, look, today and last week we did that.
Yeah, I suppose this is probably your first title race, probably since UCD that year, is it?
Yeah, and it's obviously it's a totally different picture to back then. A young, naive, ultra confident team. That UCD team was a freak of a team. We all know that. Looking back on it now, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But yeah, I can lean on those experiences, and I think I've leaned on that maybe youthful ignorance that I had back then of just going out and playing the game and enjoying it. And I think every player's kind of embraced that in the last couple of weeks, just how lucky we are to be playing football, how hard we work to get into this position, and you just have to enjoy the ride, Andrew. Like, there's no two ways about it. You can grip the bat too tight, but you'll only live with regrets if you do that. So we're enjoying the ride at the moment, and obviously we'll enjoy it a lot more if we can get the job done next week.
Absolutely. And look, I suppose, what's the next week going to look like? I know you probably haven't really thought too much yet, but like this next week is probably feels like a bit of a cup final, doesn't it?
I don't know. I just expect it to be business as usual. I mean, obviously, I'm sure it will linger in the back of the mind a little bit, but we're not going to do anything extra different than training. We're not going to, try something mad off the cuff. We're going to trust the process that got us here. Go up to Derry, obviously a really tough place to go. They're not going to let it slip easy. Even might think cup final, whatever. They're not going to want us to win it on their patch. We're fully expecting a tough battle, and we'll just do the best we can the next week and hopefully bring the trophy home.
Yeah, I suppose we kind of touched on it previously, but like there was a lot of noise when you came to Shelbourne not so long ago, and do you have to kind of pinch yourself to realise where you are in this moment after, I suppose, joining when you did, all that noise at the start?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I've spoke before. I'd be lying if I said there weren't any doubts on my end, but the manager, staff, my teammates, they never showed any doubts in me. And I think the opportunity I have now as an individual is looking at those people and really repaying that to them. Of course, I'm doing it for myself in a way as well, but that's what makes this team so special, is you could look around and say, I don't know if I'd say team of misfits, but a lot of lads were told they weren't good enough. A lot of lads who were let go from other places this season. A lot of outside noise in the media telling us that we weren't good enough. But we've believed in ourselves. We've got ourselves to this point, and look, whatever happens will happen, but we're going to give it everything we can this next week to try and win this league.
Yeah, and I promise to let you go after this one. But I know you've spoken before. You always wanted to be a League of Ireland player growing up, like to win a league title. What would that mean for you personally?
It means everything to me. Like even in this ground, it's the first ground I came to every single season. I'll say the first season I came to League of Ireland was coming to this ground every week. Before you thought about money, fame, all that stuff, the League of Ireland was my absolute aspiration. I adored the league, and I've wanted to win this league for a long time, but you can't get caught up in fantasies and dreaming and daydreaming. I'm now in the business. I'm now in a profession where I have a job to go and do, and I won't get caught up in the emotion of it all. I'm just going to go out and play the game the way I would, and if we manage as a group to win this league title, it'll be a nice moment, but I can't dwell on the child inside me too much.
This is the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast, and that is reaction from Talca Park, where Shelbourne got a victory against Drogheda United, 2-1. If they win next Friday night, regardless of what Shamrock Rovers do, then they will be the champions. It really is that simple. What a job Damien Duff has done, regardless of what happens, whether or not they win the league. Absolutely phenomenal. Let's go to Galway, Eamon DC Park, the venue for Sligo Rovers against Galway United. Donal Ryan of Extratime.com was on commentary for Ocean FM, and after the match, he sent us this voice note.
Thanks, Oisin. Yeah, full time here in Eamon DC Park. It's finished. Galway United 2, Sligo Rovers 2. A result that does absolutely nothing for either side in terms of the race for Europe. But fans in Terryland tonight were treated to an absolute cracker of a game. Both sides came flying out of the traps. Luke Pearce tapped in early on after Brendan Clark uncharacteristically spilled the ball in the opening 5 minutes, but the flag went up for offside. Galway then grew into the game throughout the first half. Great chance for Jimmy Keohane, who was found in space in the box on the left hand side by Ed McCarthy after some good work from the winger on the edge of the box. But Keohane, with loads of space, probably had too much time to think about it and just curled his shot just wide of Ed McGinty's left hand post. Francie Lomboto then had a go with a great strike from the edge of the box, which just cracked it off the post. Rovers then took the lead somewhat against the run of play. A really good work move again. This time Simon Power, the driving force behind it. A fantastic ball in from the right hand side. Was not a back across goal by Will Fitzgerald, and Luke Pearce, whose only other goal this season came against Galway United in the showgrounds, was on hand to tap in unmarked at the back stick, and Rovers went into the break ahead. Galway came flying out of the traps then once again in the second half, and we're back on level terms on about 58 minutes after Keohane managed to find some space at the back stick once more after some really good work by Patrick Hickey, who's been really impressive for Galway United all season. The ball just was floated up to Hickey and he knocked it down for Keohane, who just tapped into the bottom corner unmarked at the back post, and Galway were back level. Didn't take long for Sligo Rovers to respond though. After a fine move with plenty of passes, found Rhys Hutchinson in the middle of the Galway half. He just chipped one in to the back stick, and Simon Power ghosted in from the right wing unmarked. Nobody even saw him coming to head home, and Rovers were back in front just 2 minutes later. Galway knew they had to go for it then, and after a number of changes, one of them Stephen Walsh, they were throwing the kitchen sink at Sligo Rovers for the last 15 minutes, and that paid off after more good work from Hickey. Found Walsh in the box and he headed home on 83 minutes to get Galway back on level terms for the second time in the game. Rovers were sitting back as they tried to hold on for a single point. Galway throwing everything they could at them, but for the third time this season the sides couldn't be separated. Not that mattered too much in context of the race for Europe, with St. Pat's winning in Richmond Park this evening to move up to second place. But full time here in Eamon DC Park, an absolute cracker in Terryland. Galway United 2, Sligo Rovers 2.
Ocean FM and Extratime's Donal Ryan talking to us from Eamon DC Park, where Galway United and Sligo Rovers drew 2-2. Funnily enough, and he might have addressed this, again I'm recording this link having not heard the voice note yet, it's actually been a really decent season for those two, but they probably are both disappointed because at one stage it looked like either one of them could get into Europe, but that's not happening now. However, they both secured their Premier Division status with something to spare, which is not bad for Galway because they've just come up, and for Sligo Rovers, who last year looked like they were in a spot of bother. And well done to Sligo Rovers for backing John Russell, a man who graced the pitch I'm currently standing on, quite literally in the middle of right now, Richmond Park, many times in the past with St. Pat's, but what a job he's doing as a Sligo Rovers manager. Right, what about the league at large? It's not over yet, there are still things yet to settle. But what kind of season has it been? A good man to reflect on this is Stephen Finn, well-known football writer, UEFA qualified coach, and just a kind of a deep thinker about football, specifically Irish football. So I asked him for a stream of consciousness. And here is that stream via this voice note.
Here is my consideration of the league as we stand. I think a few weeks ago, people thought Shelbourne had shot themselves in the foot and essentially ruled themselves out of the title race by not getting wins in big games, being held by Bows, losing in Derry in the Cup. Then they had defeat by Galway, they lost to Pats, they lost to Rovers, it wasn't looking good. And now here we are, and essentially, mathematically, everything is in their favour if they can hang on in there and essentially, obviously win in Derry, which Damien Duff said to win their last 3 games, they win the league, and he's right. My gut feeling is that Derry will probably end the season at home by at least holding Shells to a draw. So then we're in that situation then where does that leave the league table? And, you know, where everything will then turn towards Shamrock Rovers, who have ended the season extremely well after quite a mixed campaign, really. But Rovers are now, thanks especially to Dylan Watts' goal against Drogheda last week, which kept them alive. They play Dundalk and they play Waterford, 2 games that most people would anticipate that Rovers ordinarily would win. And then it's a case of Rovers hitting 61 points. Shells are on 60 now, so if Shells were held to a draw up in Derry, I think it'll go to goal difference, and then my gut feeling then would be that Rovers would win on goal difference. They're 1 ahead at the moment, and obviously if they win their next 2 games, at the very least, they would extend that advantage by a couple more goals. So Rovers have ended the year on a high. They beat Shells a couple of weeks ago. Now they've beaten Drogheda. They were absolutely fantastic against Larne. They were quite good against Applewell as well. And again, it just shows you how intriguing the league is, because St. Pat's beat Rovers 3-0 on the 27th of September, literally a few weeks ago. And St. Pat's were unbelievable that night. I thought they could have scored 5 the way they were playing. And Pats have finished the season unbelievably well, 8 wins in a row. And generally speaking, if you can win 8 or 9 games, your last 10 games, you win the league. So St. Pat's were probably considered themselves deeply unlucky not to have won the title, which is an incredible statement given the situation that the club was in when Stephen Kenny was appointed early in summer. So we're heading into the last week of the season, and I feel like I wish there was another series of games because it's so exciting. And we're already now thinking next season could be an absolute cracker. We'll have Cork City coming back up. I think all of the teams in the top division next year are going to be really, really strong. Galway have had a fantastic year. Looks like, if they can add 1 or 2 more players, they'll be strong next year. Derry will be strong again. Can Waterford continue a good season back in the Premier? Bows will have to be better. So, next season is already looking so exciting, and we still have 1 week left, 10 days essentially, or thereabouts, 8 days, and with Rovers playing Dundalk on Sunday. And how will it go? I think it would be nice if Shells won it, just because of the fact that, the same team winning the title year in, year out creates a little bit of boredom. Certainly in other leagues, it's been a case where, that bit of excitement dies so early. So you don't want one team to pull so far away that the others don't catch up. But I think we've already seen now that the likes of Pats, Derry, if they can just make slight improvements, Shells now potential champions. We're already thinking next season's going to be brilliant. Rovers were so impressed against Larne. It was a little bit Larne not playing very well, but Rovers showed at their best with that free-flowing play. Burke and Mandreo both popping into that number 10 position. Johnny Kenny stretching them. Rovers ended the season brilliantly, but will also be well aware that their little dip in the middle of the season held them back and stopped them from fulfilling what, in another season they would have probably been expected to be title winners. I have to give all the credit to Shells. One of my favourite players is Sean Boyd. He's had his battles with injuries. He's one of the few strikers in Irish football that actually is dominant in the air, but he's also proven himself to be really good with his feet. And who knows what his potential will be? Could he end up being like the talismanic striker in the League of Ireland over the next few years? Shells fans will obviously be hoping that he can stay fit and see them to title success next week up in Derry. Like I said earlier on, I think my gut feeling is that Rovers are still going to do it on goal difference, only because I think Derry will want to respond after losing today. Pats were better than them. Derry finished really, really strongly, but Pats were just about better than them, in my opinion. Shells, from what I saw on the second screen, deserved their win, although they gave them a scare coming back with Boscani scoring a beautiful goal. But it would be cool if Shells could just hang on there and clinch the title, have a different champion this year. And people will look back on this season. Somebody said a few weeks ago the standard wasn't high this year. I don't agree. I think it was really exciting. I just think that when you have a lot of evenly matched teams, you're going to have periods where teams take points off each other. And also, every team generally will have a blip, and it's whoever can bounce back from that little series of poor results and shows, that character when it gets really tight, deserves to win the league. So if Shells go up to Derry, if they get a win, obviously they're champs. If Rovers don't win their 2 games, then Shells are champs as well. So it's going to be a test of character. And I think my head says Rovers, but my heart would feel that it would be great for Irish football if Shells could go and win that title. So all to play for, and very interesting time ahead.
Stephen Finn bringing you a stream of consciousness there. As you may have noticed, my surroundings have changed. I'm no longer in Richmond Park. I'm now at a motorway service station. Always a great place for streams of consciousness. Not necessarily ones about football, but we will stick with football. We'll hear from Barry Murphy in just a moment. But wasn't it interesting to hear from Stephen Finn, a really deep thinker about the game? Barry Murphy watched Shamrock Rovers on Thursday night. He'll watch them again on Sunday. He's been watching the league as a interested analyst, spectator, fan, all of those things throughout the season, and he's been a really good addition to the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcast. His talents also noticed by the RTE Soccer podcast, Off the Ball and Second Captains, all of which he's appeared on, and it's great to hear him. He adds to any podcast or show that he's on. Speaking of Off the Ball, by the way, it was fantastic to see them return to the League of Ireland live commentary landscape on, well, I was going to say tonight, but last night as it is now, because it's 12:20. They hadn't broadcast a League of Ireland game on a Friday night since 2004, and I know because I did that game. So it was great to see it back. I tried to get it going when I was working Off the Ball / News Talk, tried to get it back going once or twice. Didn't happen. So I'm a little jealous that it's going now and I'm not part of it. But look, it's brilliant for the league. It's great for the profile. It will be done right because you've got people like Nathan Murphy who's involved, and Nathan's a really just an excellent football commentator. He really knows his football, really knows his League of Ireland. Big fan of the league. Jonathan Higgins was involved tonight. Again, Jonathan, anyone who follows the league will know Jonathan knows his stuff. And look, it's just great to see. It's a real positive for the league. Extratime.com. We tried to get commentary going a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to do it. We'd love to have done it. It didn't happen. But look, let's call a spade here. Off the Ball can give it a level of profile that we just could not. Speaking of profile, Barry Murphy's got a high one. Let's hear from him now.
Thanks, Oisin. A lot of talk before the game was about this being a battle for the number 1 title on the island. A battle of the McAniff brothers, and the hype around this game certainly drew in more eyes than usual. But despite the best efforts of pre-match hype men Patrice Everett and Carl Frampton, it was to be an incredible night in Windsor Park for Shamrock Rovers in front of 1,600 travelling hoops. The feeling was before the game that this would be a tight, ferocious encounter, but that just never materialised as Larne never laid a glove on Rovers. Graham Burke was simply unplayable, and he started off his memorable performance with an intricate run down the right hand side that ended up in the box. His effort was blocked but fell to Josh Honahan at the back post, who coolly slotted past Ferguson to put the hoops 1 up after 2 minutes. Rovers almost set up a 3-2-3-2 formation up against Larne's 4-2-3-1, and it was that free-flowing interchangeable formation that had Larne dizzy. Todd and Bulger didn't know whether to drop into the hole and deal with Burke and Mandrew or stay deep and nullify the space for Johnny Kenny in behind. They chose the latter, and that decision gave Graham Burke the freedom of Windsor Park. On 22 minutes, Lopez did well to keep alive a Rovers corner. His header found Burke, whose sublime touch took him away from the defender, but also the goal. But his vision to pull it back across the goal and the half volley for Kenny was sensational to put Rovers 2 up. Burke then got a flick on at the near post from another Rovers corner, and when Cosgrove and Honohan, along with the ball, bundled over the line, the referee pointed for a free out. But VAR intervened and the goal was awarded, with Cosgrove clearly holding Honohan's shirt. 3-0 and the game as the contest was over. Larne, no doubt after some harsh words from manager Tiernan Lynch, pulled one back early in the second half when this time Rovers couldn't clear a corner and the ball fell to Gallagher on the edge of the box. His effort went through 4 or 5 bodies and beat Poles down to his right. That lifeline was short-lived, however, when Thompson, as he did against Molde in matchday 1, gave a square ball away to the nippy Burke, who drove at the more rigid Todd and Bulger, who backed off into the area. Burke bent the ball around him into the bottom corner and the 3-goal cushion was restored. Rovers did press for more and Johnny Kenny had the ball in the back of the net, but it was ruled out for a foul. As the game ended here in Windsor Park, Larne 1, Shamrock Rovers 4. That win not only gave Rovers 3 points, but also netted them around €400,000 in prize money. And with the proposed qualification tally set at around 7 points, Rovers are only 3 off that mark, with a game against TNS up next in Tala. Before that though, they face Dundalk in Oriel Park on Sunday. A game, should Rovers win, would bring the title race to the last day. Shells, who dispatched of Drogheda, lead by 5 points over Rovers with a game more played, would need to beat Derry on the last day should Rovers, as expected, beat Dundalk and Waterford. Rovers did manage to rest players against Larne and give those who did start an early place on the bench with their early first half dominance. But Rovers' form in Oriel Park is, however, a potential stumbling block as they haven't won there since March last year. And although Dundalk are relegated, the chance to have one last Premier Division sting is one Dundalk fans will I'm sure relish, especially if it's Rovers who are the victims. So it's all set up for a huge game in Oriel Park on Sunday evening.
Well, that's it for the Extratime.com League of Ireland Voice Notes podcasts. We will be back with a few kind of wrap-up pods over the next couple of days and weeks. Got the cup final to come, the relegation promotion playoff and all that. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us on extratimelelive@gmail.com, or you can get us via X at Extratime News. You can get me on @Oisin Langan. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.